What's up, everybody? A very happy Memorial Day Monday to you. Appreciate everybody spending part of your holiday and holiday week with me here on the Refuse to Lose Territory podcast, part of the Foul Territory Network. And reminder, you can always subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify, and you can follow us on YouTube now, where we are really upping our video game. It's part of the reason I wanted to come over to the Foul Territory Network, was to have a better and more consistent video presence. The crew has allowed me to do that and helped me in building the video side of things, so we are there for you wherever you are. So follow us, subscribe to us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on YouTube. As always, on the written side, you can follow all of our written work at marinersroundtable.com. Be a part of the conversation yourself by hitting join on our free community feature. We've got more than 330 of you in the community section already, so I appreciate everybody who is a part of that, supporting myself and Taryn Kovac. Again, that is marinersroundtable.com. The Mariners are not playing a particularly enjoyable brand of baseball right now. We hope you enjoy your time with us, and we hope you enjoy the end of the show, when we will be joined by Mariners red-hot prospect Brock Rodden. Brock Rodden currently playing at AAA Tacoma, hitting more than 260 with nearly 40 RBIs already at about the one-third of the way mark through the season. So Brock Rodden going to stop by with us at the end of the show. But the Mariners themselves, 25-29, losers of 2 of 3 in Kansas City. And without further ado, let go.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And here we go.
I'll be honest. I am taping this late on Sunday into early Monday on this Memorial Day. And we're putting this episode out on Monday for Memorial Day. Wanted people to be able to listen if they were traveling. Wanted people to be able to listen before the Big A's series. Although right now it's hard to be thinking in terms of first place in the West being on the line in this series, as the Mariners are 25-29. But that's why we're doing this on Memorial Day Monday. So I am taping this late on Sunday into Monday. The Mariners game has been over against the Royals for several hours. The Mariners lost 8-6 on this Sunday. And I've been thinking about how to do the podcast and what to say for those several hours. And in some ways, there is a lot to say. And in other ways, there's not really a lot to say, because we all see what's happening in front of us, and we are all frustrated by what is happening in front of us. Now, I'm going to attempt to talk about everything from all angles over the next however long we go. But I admit to you, it is feeling a bit difficult at this time. The Mariners are 25-29. They don't look like a winning team, nevertheless a playoff team, nevertheless a team with World Series aspirations. And I guess that's really where I want to start, because, you know, I said this a bunch last year. Part of what made the 2025 Seattle Mariners so fun, at least for the middle of the season and at least for especially the end of the season, part of what made that group so fun, that year so fun, is that we all rode the wave together. We all got to share in a collective fun and excitement that many of us had not experienced for a quarter century, that some of us had never experienced in our entire lives. I remember being in Seattle for the American League Division Series against the Tigers, both on the days of Game 1 and Game 2 and on the day of Game 5. And all I could think to myself was, these are my people. As someone who has lived on the East Coast for a long time now, right? I've lived on the East Coast since I left Seattle, since I was 6 years old. Like, it's been 30 years now that I've been on the East Coast. It's hard to believe that. But when you are an East Coast Mariners fan, you don't get that sense of community a lot. And part of what made last year so special was because I think a lot of people probably felt the same way that I did. Now, if you actually live in Seattle, that community has always existed, but it had never been so universally positive. Last year was so fun because we all got to ride that wave together, and we all got to experience it together. Some people got to experience it for the first time. Some people got to experience it for the first time in a long time, and that is where I stand on this, right? Like, I got to experience Mariners playoff baseball, yes, but ALCS baseball for the first time in 25 years. Division championship baseball for the first time in 25 years. The Mariners won the division when I was in 4th grade in 2001. It had been that long since the Mariners had won a division. So last year was special because there was this sense of community that rallied around each other and made it so fun to watch Mariners baseball and to ride the wave together and to be able to be in the ballpark 3 times in the playoffs in Seattle and to be able to experience that with people and to be able to hear from other people through this podcast and through our writing that were also going through it. Man, that made last year unforgettable. And the goal is to win the World Series. I'm well aware of that. But the ride was so fun that it was just a transcendent experience. And part of what I think has made this season so difficult through the first 54 games, in which the Mariners are 25-29, is that community that rallied and uplifted everyone last year has turned very negative and very sour. And I'm not telling you not to be that way. And I'm not telling you not to be upset by what you're watching. We're all upset by what we're watching. But it is just an observation that this fan base collectively, I think genuinely, seems to not like this team and things that are, doesn't like things that are associated with this team. I have read a bunch in the last week or so that people hate the Mariners, that people can't stand this team, that they are, quote, an unserious franchise. Dan Wilson is getting torched. Jerry DiPoto is getting torched. Several of the players are getting turned on. And that, I think, has helped to make this Mariners experience in 2026 collectively even worse. Now, the team has brought it on themselves. There's no doubt about that with how they've played. But everything associated with the Mariners fan experience right now looks, sounds, and feels toxic. And it's been toxic to the point now where things that aren't big deals are being made into big deals because literally everything that is done is either bad or is made out to be bad or is being spun to be bad. Watching the Mariners and living on Mariners social media right now has turned incredibly toxic. And that, I think, is maybe the saddest of all, that a group that is intact from a year ago largely and a logo that brought us all together 8 months ago, 7-8 months ago, positively, has now turned, everybody kind of collectively against them. The community that was so great a year ago is not there now. And the eroding of that communal experience, the souring of that communal experience maybe hurts more than just the watching of a mediocre baseball team. Now, I don't know if mediocre to losing teams are ever really universally liked. Like, if you are losing, I think that grates on fan bases pretty regularly. But this team has really drawn the ire of the fan base in a way that maybe I don't remember. Now, it's certainly different, right? Social media is a bigger part of now than it was 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Now, maybe the fan base would have soured on the Milton Bradley-led Mariners just like this also, but the climate is different, and with that, the loudness is different, and it has just become, watching the Mariners has sadly become a toxic experience for many, and it's become a toxic experience for many of us online who are living it every day. And that, again, to me, is maybe the most frustrating thing of all, because last year rallying together was so much fun, and this is just so much different. We'll be right back after these words from Scott Braun and Todd Frazier.
Todd, Father, I'm a last-minute guy. Sometimes you're a last-minute guy where you all of a sudden see a night open up and you want to go grab some tickets and you hadn't gotten them already, so you're going to SeatGeek, and you're going to go look for a green dot and see where the good seats are and the good value is and have a little night with the fam, right?
Without a doubt. And I'm looking for some of the best seats. I'm looking for that green dot. When I get that, it's a simple plug it in, use your hands, go right on your screen, your phone, whatever platform you can get it on. And it's so simple. They make it so easy for you to do. Even my son can do it. If I ask him, hey, Blakester, let's go, man, get on there for us, find us a couple seats so we can watch even that Subway Series. That would be fantastic. SeatGeek has it all there for you.
Yeah, and the code for you, you should know it. It's Territory 10. It just gets you 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. 10% off any tickets with promo code Territory10. Make sure you click the link in the description, download the app, then the code is automatically added to your account so you can use it later.
All right, we appreciate Scott and Eric. We're back at it here on Refuse to Lose Territory. Let me just run through a few things. I don't really feel like just fully reliving what happened on Sunday in Kansas City. So let me just give you kind of the quick synopsis. The two losses the Mariners suffered against the Royals on Saturday and Sunday were very, very painful because this was supposed to be a series where the Mariners had a chance to get right and get some momentum. You kind of are relieved to get through the White Sox series, winning 2 out of 3. This was supposed to be the jumping off point. The Royals came into this series having been swept by an under 500 Red Sox team. They had scored 5 runs in 3 games in that series. The Royals had lost 9 of 10. They were in last place entering play on Sunday at 20-31, and now they were able to get right against the Mariners. And not only did they get right, they made the Mariners look generally listless for most of the weekend. The Mariners scored in 1 inning on Friday in a win that Mitch Garver hit a 2-run homer. They obviously got shut out on Saturday. And, you know, there was a nice moment on Sunday with Julio Rodriguez's first inning home run. And then there was a nice kind of bounce back sign of life in the 7th that made it 5-3 instead of 5-1. And a nice bounce back in the 9th that made it 8-6 instead of 8-3. So sure, they battled. Sure, they fought. Yes, there were some productive at-bats late. But by and large, the Mariners were listless against a team that they should have come in and had an opportunity to take a series from. One of the things that is most frustrating to me, is that this is the fourth time this season that the Mariners have won the first game of a series and then failed to win either of the next 2. The inability to finish the job has been startling with this team all year, whether that is big picture in terms of winning the first game and losing the next 2, whether that is smaller, not being able to cash in with runners in scoring position, not being able to play add-on, not being able to seal the deal, occasionally in the bullpen, not being able to have a starter, put a stamp on their outing. Finishing the deal has been a problem for this team all year. Okay? In those 4, look, the Mariners won the first game of the series against the Yankees, lost the next 2. They won the first game of the series against the Angels, lost the next 2. In Chicago, they won the first game against the White Sox, lost the next 2. Against the Royals here, they won the first game, lost the next 2. So in those 12 games, in those 12 games, the Mariners have gone 0-4 in series and 4-8 in those games. Imagine if they had just won those series. If they win the first and then one of the next 2, how much different are things looking if they're 8-4 in those 12 and not 4-8? They're over 500. They're 29-25 if they just do the job to win one of 2 games after winning the first. But why are they not doing that? Because they are doing too many things that bad teams do. Inconsistent teams do the things the Mariners are doing. Bad teams do the things the Mariners are doing. The offense is habitually a challenge. The pitching staff has let them down too often. And again, this is an all-encompassing affair. We can go down the line on Sunday, and I can give you a poor play from almost every single player who saw action in that game. Right? This is not a one-size-fits-all approach. Nearly every player who played did something poor in that game. Even Colt Emerson, who was 4 for 4, had a ball that he would tell you he should have fielded at third base. The defense has been obviously horrendous at times. The pitching staff has let them down. The offense is a challenge. This is an equal opportunity failure. And yes, even though I don't criticize him as loudly as others do, I am sure we can go through and find occasions where Dan Wilson has not pushed the right buttons and been burned by it. It is a bad brand of baseball that the Mariners are playing this season all too often. We talk about the fan base calling this team unlikable. I think a lot of the people are likable. Excuse me. I've gotten to know some of them. There are very good and genuine people in the Mariners organization. I think they are likable, but the brand of baseball that is being played is unlikable far too often. I mean, you've seen mental errors with this team. You've seen physical errors with this team. You've seen poor approaches at the plate. You've seen everything that you can see. That is what has contributed to a 25-29 record. And can they be turned around? Yes. But does anybody have confidence that they're going to be turned around? Not right now. That is for sure. And the thing I mentioned that frustrates me most is not being able to finish off a series, but it falls in conjunction with what I'm about to say. These series were early season chances. Eventually, you run out of chances in a season. I have talked about how hard this team's August is. I don't have it completely in front of me, but in August, this team will face the Milwaukee Brewers on the road, one of the best teams in baseball. In August, this team will go to Yankee Stadium, a place they haven't won a series in more than a decade. In August, this team will go to Toronto and to Boston. And even though those teams are under 500 right now, I have no idea if they'll be much, much better in August and early September. But even if they're not, they're incredibly difficult places to play. And the Mariners historically struggle there as they come to the East Coast. I mean, I think someone can correct me in the comments on this if I'm wrong. I think they also play Tampa maybe late July and early August as well. One of the best teams in baseball. This is a hellish August for the Mariners coming up. This like, hey, we're going to tread water and pull a rabbit out of our hat late. I don't know that that's going to work this year, not against this schedule. These are the chances that you have to allow yourself to be able to withstand what might be a difficult August, and the Mariners are not capitalizing on them. You've lost a series to the White Sox. You've lost a series to the Royals twice. You've gone 1-5 against the Royals. You've gone 1-2 against the Angels, who entered play on Sunday with the worst record in baseball. These early season opportunities you are punting away so that you can have opportunities late to go on a magical run. I don't want the Mariners to go on a magical run. I want them to play consistent baseball and be good throughout, and they have punted those chances, and that is the most frustrating thing of all. I know you cannot win a division in April and May. We've seen the Mariners be 10 games up in June and lose the division and miss the playoffs. I know that an early start that's good doesn't necessarily mean anything. But if you take advantage of your early season opportunities, you can weather maybe some tough scheduling or some late season inevitable failures, and the Mariners haven't been able to do that. And that is the thing that bothers me the most. Now, if you're asking me to pin down the most frustrating thing on this team or the biggest deal on this team, right, there's a lot to choose from. The defense, the base running at times. Some of you think the managing is a major issue. The injuries, like there's a lot of things at play to choose from. The Mariners have a lot of bad baseball qualities right now. But if you're going to ask me the number one thing plaguing this team, I am going to say this: the regression in power. The regression in power. We all wondered, or at least I wondered, what would happen to this team if the home runs started to dissipate. Well, you are seeing it. Thanks to Cal Raleigh and Jorge Polanco and Randy Arozarena and Julio Rodriguez, the Mariners were third in baseball in home runs last season. As a result, they were ninth in baseball in runs scored. Even despite the strikeout issues, even despite the contact issues, They were third in baseball in home runs, so therefore they were ninth in baseball in runs scored. You are seeing what happens when the power regresses. Jorge Polanco is gone. Eugenio Suarez is gone. Cal Raleigh is hurt and was struggling. This team is tied for 10th in home runs. By no means is that bad, but they are the most home run dependent team in the league. That is how they score. The problem, they don't hit enough of them. Being 10th, if that's how you're going to score, if home runs are going to be your primary driver of offense, you can't be 10th. You have to be third like you were a year ago. You have to be top 3. And when you are not, you are seeing what the offense looks like. Too often, it is punchless. Yes, they will homer. And yes, they will have some games where they slug their way to some victories, but they're not doing that enough. I'm going to play you something I think that's fairly illuminating momentarily. But first, I want to get a word in from Scott Braun and AJ Brzezinski.
AJ, give me a line on Blue Chew.
Well, do you need help with your love life, Scott?
Perhaps.
Do you want to turbocharge your love life?
Yes.
Well, then you need Blue Chew Gold because it has 4 active ingredients that help you not only turbocharge, but you can supercharge it if you take one of these.
And AJ's talking about that new arousal-boosting formula that combines passion and performance into one tablet that dissolves under your tongue for super fast onset. No more waiting for a pill to kick in. No more moments ruined by performance anxiety. Just the results you want when you want them. Discover your options at BlueChew.com. A special deal is there for the FT fam. Right now, when you buy 2 months of Blue Chew Gold, you get the third for free with promo code FOUL. That's promo code FOUL. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. Thank you to Blue Chew for sponsoring the show. And thank you, AJ, for talking love life. The process is simple and it's all online. Get started today at BlueChew.com and go for gold.
So again, the Mariners are home run dependent, but the problem is they don't hit enough of them. Look, Cole Young has 1 homer since April 5th or something like that. Dom Canzone has 1 homer since April 21st. Randy Arozarena hit 27 home runs a year ago. He's on pace for 16 home runs this year. Josh Naylor hit 20 home runs a year ago. He's on pace for 16 home runs. This team has to be able to do one of 2 things. They have to be able to slug in a way that puts them in the top class of the league, which means they're going to need Cole Young to hit 12 to 15. They're going to need J.P. Crawford to hit 10 to 12. They're going to need Dom Canzone to hit 15 to 18. They're going to need Randy Arozarena to get back to a pace where he's going to hit 25. They're going to need Josh Naylor to hit 20. They're going to need these guys to get back some of the power that they have lost, or they're going to have to be able to cash in on the opportunities that they haven't been able to cash in on. They're going to have to be able to hit the ball in the gap when runners are on second and third. They're going to have to be able to hit the ball in the gap when there's first and second and 1 out. They're going to have to be able to get the runner over and then hit a sac fly to get them in. Their pitching is too good these days to not capitalize on the opportunities that you have. So you have to hit the ball out of the ballpark at an even higher rate, and guys are going to have to play to the top end of their power ability, which is a big and tough ask, or you're going to have to, again, capitalize on the things that you haven't been able to capitalize on all year. We know the Mariners are very near the bottom of the league with runners in scoring position. That is going to have to improve. And look, this was my biggest fear. I've been talking about this for months. So you asked me again to nail down the one thing that is the biggest concern on this team. This was at the top of my list 3 months ago, right? I went back to the archives. February 19th, I talked with Buster Olney during Mariners spring training. I was in the hotel room in Phoenix, in Peoria. Buster was on the phone. He asked me a question, and this is how that went. So again, different can be good, but different is different. The problem is they're not different. They are still home run dependent. They just don't hit enough of them. I said that back on February 19th, more than 3 months ago, and unfortunately, it is coming to fruition. Unfortunately, it is coming to fruition. All right, again, Brock Rodden's going to join us at the end of the show. I'm very much looking forward to talking to him. An observation that I want to make here, okay? And it's not an excuse. I don't want it to come off like an excuse. It is just an observation. I look around the league, and I see the Mariners obviously struggling. I see the Toronto Blue Jays under 500. I see the Boston Red Sox under 500. I see the Detroit Tigers in last place. The Tigers just lost 8 in a row. There are really good teams from a year ago that are really struggling this year. And every team has their own issues. Injuries are a part of all of these rosters, but there are other questions, managerial, front office. There are a lot of the same questions for these teams that there are for the Mariners. They are just reminders of how much has to go right in a season for teams to have success. Again, this is not a get out of jail free card for the Mariners. This is not a all the other kids are doing it, so it's okay if I'm doing it thing. It is just a realization and an observation that a lot has to go right for you to be good, and a lot can go wrong to undo what a team thinks it's capable of. The Tigers have lost, I think, 15 of 18 or 16 of 19 since Tarek Skubal got hurt. We've seen, again, the Mets. Like, it's happening to everybody. Teams that spend, teams that don't spend, teams in easy divisions, teams in hard divisions. A lot of things have to go right for you to be good. And right now for the Mariners, a lot of things are not going right. Like, a lot of what can go wrong, will go wrong, has gone wrong for this team right now. Now, if you're asking me for a little bit of optimism here, let me try to give you some. Let me try to give you some Mariners optimism. The Mariners are 25-29 entering play on Monday, and they're going to have a 3-game series against the A's that can obviously help swing back the American League West. On June 11th last year, 3 weeks beyond, 2.5 weeks beyond in the calendar where we are right now. On June 11th of last year, the Mariners just got swept by the Arizona Diamondbacks. The Friday game against, or the Monday game against the Diamondbacks was the Josh Naylor walk-off grand slam in extra innings, an extremely painful loss for the 2025 Mariners. The Mariners went on to lose the next 2 days to the Diamondbacks. They had lost 7 of 8 at that point. On June 11th of last year, the Mariners were 33-34, under 500 through 67 games. And we all thought the world was ending. And they went on to win 90 games. So if you're asking me for optimism, all I can tell you is that the team goes through this bad stretch every single year and has found a way out of it both in 2022 and in 2025. They did not find their way out of it fully in 2023 and 2024. I've already told you how difficult August is going to be. They're going to have to turn it around starting now, but I just want you to know that through 67 games last year, they were 33-34, under 500. If they get to 33-34 this year, I think we'll all be happy with it based on what we're seeing, because that would mean they would have to go 8-5 over the next 13 games. We would all take an 8-5 13-game stretch right now. But it is possible for the team to look lifeless for a while and have a horrific stretch and then ultimately go on a run. It really can turn that quickly. The Mariners lost 6 of 7 in July and still won 90 games. I was there in Tampa early September, first week of September, when the Mariners just got absolutely pummeled by I have never seen a beating like the Mariners took from the Rays over 3 games at Steinbrenner Field. The Mariners lost 5 of 6 in that stretch. They were only 5 games over 500 last year into early September. So as good as the end product was for the 2025 Mariners, they were not some world beaters throughout the entirety of the season. They were pretty good early. They really slumped around this time last year and into early and mid-June. Then they got very hot. Then they went ice cold in July. Then they were a little bit better. And then they got pummeled for a lot of mid to late August and early September. And then they were great late. So the waves do happen, and this team has been known to ride them. So they do have time in front of them. They had time in front of them last year. But again, that time isn't going to matter if they don't start playing better ASAP. Another reason for optimism. The Mariners are 8th in the league in walks. They are 3rd in the league in hit by pitches. They do get on base. They do get free bases. They are 26th in batting average on balls in play. You just have to hope that some of the law of averages works in their favor. I believe by the 5th inning on Sunday, the Mariners had already made 5 outs over 100 miles an hour. Julio hit a ball hard with runners on with a runner in scoring position, caught at third. Canzone smoked a ball at 111 to second base that was fielded by the Royals. So, I mean, some of these balls you have to hope will find holes as the season goes on. Hope is not a strategy, but law of averages exists for a reason. They do get some traffic. And as I've told you, they need to hit more home runs if that's going to be what they're going to do. But if they want to be something other than that, then they're going to have to get some balls to find some room and find some grass in the outfield. And again, 26th in batting average on balls in play. I would like to hope that that will regress positively. What do I think needs to happen for the Mariners moving forward? Well, one, let me say this too. There aren't many levers left to pull for a while. The Mariners have pulled almost every lever that they can pull right now. Okay, they have brought up Cole Emerson. That is the number one lever that they can pull. He went 4 for 4 on Sunday. He looked excellent offensively, had 3 extra base hits. That's great to see. So they've pulled that lever. They've now gotten Victor Robles back, so they're a little bit healthier. They're getting a good year from Luke Raley, so that lever has been pulled, or that level or hopeful lever has been pulled. When they get Cal Raleigh and Brendan Donovan back, whenever that is, that will be another lever that can be pulled. But in terms of things they can control, Cole Emerson was the main one. Brendan Davis, if and when he comes, will be the second one that they can pull. They can't pull any other levers. Michael Arroyo's not ready yet. Las Montes isn't ready yet. So if you're looking for, what can they do to tread water until the trade deadline, the only thing they can do is get Cal Raleigh and Brendan Donovan back, get a little healthier before that, like Victor Robles, and then bring up Cole Emerson. They've done that. Brendan Davis is the only other move on the chessboard that they can make that you could feel like could substantially help this offense. Now, are they going to jettison Robles or Ref Snyder? I think both of them have some time here. But yes, eventually they could. And Brendan Davis will be the only other lever that the Mariners can pull on offense. Cade Anderson is a lever they can pull in the pitching staff. But right now, they have too many pitchers. They don't need to introduce more chaos to the pitching staff. So in terms of what they can do, there's not a whole lot more that they can do organizationally to change this. My point is, it's going to have to come from the players. This is going to have to be players driven. There needs to be some pride, some accountability, some desire, some urgency. I'm not telling you the players don't care. Some of you think they don't care. I've been around them enough to know that they care. But they're going to have to put that care into what we're seeing on the field in the form of urgency, because right now, this group needs some urgency. We are 54 games into the season. We are exactly 1/3 of the way through. There is time, but that time is fleeting. And as that time fleets, they're going to need to, again, have some of that urgency and have some of that preparedness to go out and attack what is right now the final 108 games. I don't think you can look to Dan Wilson or Jerry Dipoto to go and single-handedly change this thing. It's going to have to be from the players. They've brought up Colt Emerson. They can bring up Brendan Davis. That still can help. But the players are going to have to drive this ship. They're going to have to play better. And they're going to have to show that urgency that a lot of fans are calling for them to show. One prediction. I think we're going to see Gabe Speier in this series against the A's. I don't know if it will be Monday, but I think we're going to see him in this series against the A's. All the signs point to it. Gabe Speier has made 2 rehab appearances, one at Everett, one at AAA Tacoma. Now follow the logic here. Everett was home last week. Tacoma was on the road in Salt Lake City. So if it was about just staying local, Gabe Speier could have just stayed with Everett and kept pitching there. His first appearance was for Everett. His second appearance could have been there if it was just about staying home and being convenient. He went on the road to Tacoma. That's not typical. It's not like, oh, we want to get him a look at a higher level. That's not how teams do this. Teams will often opt for what is the most convenient. Well, Tacoma was in Salt Lake City. I got to imagine that Salt Lake City is a little bit closer to Sacramento than Seattle is. So Gabe Speier pitches in Salt Lake City. I imagine hops on a plane, heads to Sacramento to meet the Mariners there. Does that mean that he'll pitch on Monday? I do not know. But I think that he will be up in this series, and that's going to be important for the Mariners to have him in this series. He pitched on Saturday at Tacoma. He was off on Sunday. Maybe the Mariners want to give him another day, or maybe they just want to put him right in the fire. But you look at the A's, Tyler Soderstrom, Cortez, Lawrence Butler, Nick Kurtz. That's several impact lefties in that lineup. The Mariners are going to need more than just Jose Ferrer. They're going to need Ferrer and Speier because they might have to go to the pen in the 5th inning to get out a tough lefty, and then they're going to have to go to the pen again in the 8th inning to get out that same tough lefty. I think you're going to see Dan Wilson manage this series fairly aggressively because I think he has to. Again, I don't want to say that this is like make or break, but you can't afford to go here and get swept. I don't even want to see the Mariners lose 2 or 3, but you cannot afford to go here and get swept. So I think Dan Wilson needs to manage this like a playoff series largely. I know they're doing the piggyback thing on Monday, so maybe they think they don't need Speier on Monday because they're going to plan on just rolling out the duo as long as it can go. But Dan Wilson, I think, is going to have to manage this series like a playoff series and be aggressive. And I think having both lefties will be important in my hope that he does that. And finally, let's get the thoughts out on the piggyback. Monday night, you're going to see Luis Castillo start, Bryce Miller come in relief. I'm not a fan of it. I told you that I've soured on the idea of the piggyback. It was pretty predictable to me that if they ran it back, they were going to give Castillo the start because that means he's got a chance to get more pitches, kind of guaranteed pitches under his belt, and Bryce Miller's the guy who ultimately will come in relief. Not a fan of this, and I go back to something Ryan Rowland-Smith said on Seattle Sports 710 a couple of weeks ago. The piggyback never works for the guy that you want throwing more. Bryce Miller is the guy that right now the Mariners should want throwing more, and he's going to be the guy who ultimately gets screwed over twice in all of this. Now, he got pulled after 5 2/3 innings last Tuesday against the White Sox. I was ultimately fine with that because I was fine with Ferrer coming in to get out Murakami. But if you are going to, you wanted Bryce Miller to throw more pitches, he didn't get them. Now, he's going to come in on Monday, and let's say Luis Castillo gets 5. Bryce Miller gets 3 or 4, so he gets less. He gets less work inherently. He's going to come into a game, we have no idea what the score is. He could come into the game down 3-0. He could come into the game down 6-0. And what's the motivation for Bryce Miller to come in and just play mop-up man? I'm not a fan of this. I get why they're doing it, but I am not a fan of it. And I'm certainly not a fan of the way it was implemented last week and the way that it might be implemented again on Monday. My biggest fear with all of this, and the thing I think that the Mariners need to worry about, or the thing I think they need to be concerned about is at this point, what are the players feeling? Are the players losing faith or losing trust in the organization? I go back to something Divish said on Puck's podcast last week, and he said, and I'm paraphrasing him, and I want to be careful with this. I'm paraphrasing him. He said basically like, are some guys starting to look around and wonder, what are we really doing here? That's what you want to avoid if you're the Mariners. You want to avoid a situation where Luis Castillo is resentful with his resume of being yo-yoed back and forth. You want to be cognizant of, is Bryce Miller resentful that he's not getting the opportunities to be a full-time every fifth day starter that he has certainly showed that he's deserved through 2 starts, and that I'm sure he feels like he has earned and should be owed. Do you want the players looking at themselves wondering, are we really trying to win, or are we just being sensitive to people's feelings? That is what you want to avoid. If everybody's pulling the rope in the same direction, that is obviously optimal. But if everybody is starting to look around sideways and wonder what is really going on here, that's a huge problem. I hope we're not at that point yet. But the piggyback on Monday and how it goes, I think will tell us something. Because if Luis Castillo gets run out of the game early, people will look around and say Bryce Miller should have started. If it happens the way it happened last week, and Bryce Miller's given the 9th when he's not really prepared for the 9th ever in his career, then I think people will say that should have been Moon. You don't want the team starting to question what is going on. Again, that would be a big-time problem. All right, now we talk about AAA Tacoma, right? We talk about Gabe Spire pitching for Tacoma in Salt Lake City. I want to go out to the phone line, to the video chat line. From the airport in Utah is Tacoma Rainiers infielder Brock Rodden, 5th-round pick of the Mariners in 2023 out of Wichita State, having an excellent season, hitting .263, 7 homers, 38 RBIs, a former minor league Gold Glover, a utility infielder, a switch hitter, a guy who can play everywhere, and a guy who's generating a lot of support from Mariners fans online. Brock Rodden with us from the airport as the team gets ready to depart back to Tacoma. Brock, thank you for being with me. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I appreciate you being with us. Before we talk to baseball, this is coming out on Monday. Your birthday is Monday. What does a 26-year-old baseball player on his off day do for his birthday? What are the plans?
Not a whole lot. Probably just gonna go into town and get some dinner and hang out with some of the guys and chill.
All right. Sounds like a good day, though, a good productive off day. Now let's get to the baseball. Before we, talk about the stats, the preparation, any of that, what does it mean for you to just be healthy, to be healthy enough to have the kind of season that you're having? A couple of different injured list stints last year, had to play in the fall league just to get some reps. What is it like for you to just be healthy?
It's nice, man. It's everything. Staying healthy is the key. Last year obviously was tough, battling a lot of different injuries and stuff. Was fortunate enough to be able to play in the fall league, like you said. Get some extra games under my belt after missing so much of the season. And I think the fall league kind of helped me, get ready for the upcoming year. Get some more at bats later in the year, and having a good year so far.
The hamate bone, I think, was the big one for you last year. That was kind of the injury of the year this year heading into the season. Francisco Lindor, Jackson Holiday. It's said to be a very difficult injury to come back from, especially offensively. What is it about that injury that makes it so tough, especially trying to swing?
Well, obviously anything that you have done with your hand, it's going to be tough to hit. You gotta grab the bat and you got to be able to swing the bat pretty violently. So anytime you have any work done on your hand and you're trying to come back from that, it's pretty sore. And if you can't grip the bat, then it's kind of hard to swing. So.
At what point did you feel right? Was it in the off-season prep? Was it at spring training? Was it very early in this year? At what point did you start to kind of feel whole again in your ability to swing?
I think probably about a couple weeks into the fall league, I started to feel good again. Those first few days showing up to the fall league, I was still kind of coming back from rehabbing that hamate, and I think a couple weeks into that, once I felt comfortable swinging full speed, it just kind of took off. So.
We talked a lot about this last year at the major league level with Cal Raleigh. I want your perspective on it. As a switch hitter, how difficult is it, or what is it like for you trying to maintain both swings all season long?
Oh, it's tough. It's a challenge, but I think every switch hitter would rather be a switch hitter than only swing from one side. It's different. You got different feels, different swings, different approaches. It's just trying to work through that week by week. Obviously it's very difficult, and you have your ups and downs and stuff. So, one side could be good, one side could feel pretty bad. Um, but the next week it could be the exact opposite. So.
Talk to me about the preparation on game day. Do you swing from both sides of the plate equally every day, or we're facing a lefty today? That means I'm getting more work in right-handed. How do you kind of divvy up the workload on the two sides of the plate?
Yeah, so I do the same routine every day, right-handed, left-handed, in the cage. Whenever we actually take on-field BP, it's usually whenever I focus on one side or the other, depending on the starter for that night. So.
You've had some guys with significant major league experience down on rehab assignments this year in Tacoma. We saw Robles down there recently. We've seen J.P. Crawford there at the beginning of the year. What do you take from some of those major league guys who you've been around in spring training as well? But when they are down there, what do you kind of take from them in kind of how they prepare and how they work, and what you kind of pick up from them about being a big leaguer?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is just learning their routines, seeing how they take care of their body, seeing what they do in the weight room every day, their cage routines, their high performance stuff, the way they eat and just take care of themselves. I think being a professional is comes down to consistency, how consistent you can be on a daily basis with everything. That's hydration, the way you eat, the way you take care of yourself in the training room, workout, all of it. So.
How about on the pitching side? You guys have seen Spire this weekend. You've had Brash down there recently. We saw Bryce Miller down there. What about from the pitching side? What do you see in them that's just a separator between the guys who you typically see in AAA?
Well, I mean, Brash's slider doesn't really need much explaining. Got to play shortstop behind him, and whenever there's a left-handed hitter, I'm kind of directly behind second base, so I get to see the movement, and that thing's a little different. So, he doesn't need a whole lot of explaining. But Spire, like, they're just very consistent. Like I said, they throw the ball where they want to. They can hit the corners, and they just know how to stay off the barrel.
You're 5'7". I'm sure you've heard about that your entire life, and I'm sure people have had questions about it your entire life. What has been your mindset about? Is it trying to prove people wrong? Do you let those comments roll off your back? Is it like, hey, I'm pointing to Altuve, he was short and he's great? Like, what's your mindset when the height thing gets brought up? Because I'm sure it's been brought up often.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've dealt with that my whole life, so at this point, it's just another day whenever it happens. But I'm not trying to really prove anybody wrong. I think that whenever I'm on the field, I just let my game do the talking and just go out and compete and play as hard as I can.
There's been a lot of people on Mariners social media advocating for you to get a chance right now at the major league level, and undoubtedly, I'm sure it will come here eventually. How do you stay focused on kind of being where your feet are and not kind of thinking about what's next or thinking about the ultimate goal? How do you kind of just, we always hear stay present, but it's easier said than done. How do you go about doing it?
I just try to get 1% better every day. I mean, thinking about the future is not going to help me with what I need to do now. Like I said, just got to be consistent with everything that I do, and it's God's timing, and it'll work out.
Let me ask you about a couple of guys you've had a chance to play with this year. The first is Colt Emerson, who we got our first look at over the course of the last week or so in Seattle. You got to play alongside him in Tacoma a good amount this year. What are your impressions of Colt, who I got a chance to see at spring training but haven't seen in the last few months? What's been your impression of him as a teammate this year?
Oh, he's great, man. He's a great stand-up guy, and he's one that you want on your team for sure. He plays the game the right way. He shows up every day wanting to win, and that's what he expects. And it just kind of rubs off on other guys and makes everybody want to win that much more.
How about Brennan Davis? Because every time I look, this guy's hitting the ball 117 miles an hour off the bat. What's it like to be in the lineup with him?
Oh yeah, that guy can thump for sure. So I mean, anytime you have somebody like that in the lineup, just adds depth, and with any swing of the bat, he can change the game. So
I hate lifting questions from someone else's podcast, but you were also on the Tacoma Rainiers podcast recently. I got to ask you about something you said to them. The Gold Glove Award you won is an actual glove. It's not just a hunk of heavy metal. Did I hear that right? Am I right in that?
yeah. So it's like it's an actual glove that they just put on a stand. It's just gold. I mean, it's real leather. I think. I mean, you can take it off and put it on. Yeah.
I just assumed the thing was like 1,000 pounds and impossible to carry, but it's just a regular glove that is painted gold.
Yeah. The only thing that's heavy is the stand that it's on.
That is, I wonder if it's like that at the major league level, because that is, I am today years old when I realized that the Gold Glove is not just like a trophy.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe the big league one is different, but the minor league one that they gave me is, yeah, it's a real glove.
You are from Oklahoma. You went to a high school with 60 people in your graduating class? My high school.
Yeah.
My high school had 3,000 people. I had 760 people in my graduating class alone. 60 people. Was every guy in your school on the baseball team with you?
Most of them. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the thing to do is play baseball at our high school, I guess.
You talk about ultimate big man on campus type stuff growing up. What is it like to be? Are you on every team? Were you on all 3 seasons in high school, every sport?
No, so actually we didn't even have football at my high school. We played fall spring baseball. So I actually got to play 8 seasons of high school baseball, which, helped me a lot. And I didn't play basketball. I was always too worried about getting hurt for baseball.
When did you make that decision? Was that something you decided young that you only wanted to focus, or did you play, through 7th, 8th grade, and then ultimately in high school decide to focus full time? When did you make that decision?
Yeah, I played through like, junior high and everything, but once I got into high school, I realized that I was gonna have a chance at baseball and wanted to just, spend the off season like working out and getting stronger and getting ready for the season.
You ended your college career at Wichita State. You started at a junior college. I actually coached baseball at junior college for a couple of seasons and really, really loved the experience. What was your experience like at JUCO, and maybe why was that the right choice for you coming out of high school as opposed to going to a 4-year right away?
Yeah, I absolutely loved it, man. I have nothing negative to say about junior college. My first year there was COVID, so we didn't get to play a whole lot, but I think junior college was the right choice for me just because I was really undersized coming out of high school. I think I probably graduated at like close to 145 pounds. So I knew that there was a lot of work that needed to be done before I would have a chance to play at the D1 level. I wasn't like selling myself short or anything. I was just being realistic in the fact that I needed to, get stronger, more physical, and just develop a little bit more.
You, the Holiday family. Oklahoma appears to be a baseball hotbed that I didn't quite know existed until very recently. It seems like there's a ton of talent in the state of Oklahoma.
Oh yeah. It's a sleeper state for sure.
My advice to you before you get to Seattle, I don't know if you're an Oklahoma City Thunder fan, but if you are, my advice to you is do not go advertising it. The people of Seattle do not want to hear positive things about the Thunder. So just take that under your hat for whenever you get there. No Thunder positive references is my advice to you.
All right, I'll do my best.
Brock Rodden, much appreciated. Continued success and health at AAA Tacoma. We hope to see you in the big leagues at some point soon, but until then, just keep doing your thing, and we'll catch up here down the road at some point. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that was Mariners infielder Brock Rodden. Happy birthday to him on this Monday. Mariners and A's the Mariners looking to beat the A's in Sacramento, and it's certainly a series that the Mariners could stand to take for many, many reasons. The AL West being part of it and the fan base's well-being is part of it as well. Again, the episode out here on Memorial Day Monday. Whatever you are doing on Memorial Day, have fun and stay safe. Thank you to everybody who protects us and keeps us safe so that we get to enjoy the game of baseball and bring you our baseball coverage. We appreciate all of you as well. We will be back at it again for better or worse for how the Mariners do against the A's on Thursday with our ESPN MLB insider Buster Olney, and then we'll have another full episode on Friday. Remember to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and YouTube, and follow us at MarinersRoundtable.com. The Mariners are 2.5 games back of the A's right now. The A's are 27 and 26. The Mariners are 25 and 29. We will see you on Thursday. Again, a safe and happy Memorial Day. And as always, go M's.